All right.
Is this a 0-3 or 2-3?
This is the 2-3.
Okay.
So I wanted to. The reason I asked that question is if it went from 3-2 to 0-3, you guys made some, or the other team made some really good adaptations. But since you went to 0-3 to 2-3, I didn't want to reiterate something that you guys saw. So
This I felt like I played a lot better this game, so it's probably better. Unlikely.
yeah, so there's definitely the main thing that I saw from the first game to this game was the first game you guys had 0 infield passes, and so all they had to do was sit on the backboard. Versus this game, you guys started to mix up the offense a little bit more. But most of what you guys got punished for was some of the habits they just kind of took advantage of. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So right here, when you're doing this backside kickoff, you want to wait until you see how the 50 happens. So right here, when you go and grab this boost, you pre-commit going upfield. What you really want to be doing is, as you're coming into this, is come into it more like this of an angle, so that way you can be up the wall. And what this is going to do is this is just going to buy you time, but still keep that momentum going. And then if the ball comes straight at you, like unless the ball literally just comes straight at you, like you can turn upfield if it goes upfield, or if they lose it and it comes behind you, you can come here. You just have all the options still available. But when you commit to going up here, you now have to counteract all your momentum. And you see how much of a mess that creates?
Okay.
So just be more patient on waiting on that 50 happening. Like even slow your, you don't have to rush to this. There's no reason to like boost and flip to it really. And well, maybe flipped at this pace, but either way, just go up the wall because that's just going to give you the most options until you read where the ball's going. And so this is the habit that I want to point out to you because you're about to see it. And then this third goal that you get scored on is how you get punished for it. Is you always take it outside when you have the corner. So anytime that you've been in here, your immediate push has always been up and out. And so they begin to set up for that. And you'll see it right here. That they'll just say, oh, they're in the corner. They've always brought it out. They stack 2 people right here and then just dunk you. So when you have the chance to do stuff like this and you have all this space, utilize all this space. The overall theme of what I saw is you guys didn't look at their defense before you started the attack. You guys just had the attacks that you guys like to do, and that's what allowed them to adapt to it so well. So like right here, you just kind of dive straight into where they're at versus taking all the space and possibly drawing one of them in to overcommit. So let me go back to you. Right here, good patience. Okay, good beat. So I would work on keeping your momentum up there. So like after here, like you should be power sliding on all your landings, so that way you can keep momentum, and then you can flip forward or just keep your momentum going. Because really, it's hard to tell with the replay if the boost was there or not. But either way, like you could have rotated out and through the play, and then Otto wouldn't be, or Rooney wouldn't be in such an awkward position. Because Rooney should really be where you are. If we back this up a bit. So right here, you take this 50. If you continue your momentum forward, out and around, you can either attack whoever is blocking the midfield pass or here, their goalie. And then Otto, instead of sitting here awkwardly, can be rotating in behind you to attack this ball.
Okay.
So really just keep that momentum up, because stopping and turning around here is like just a tad bit slower, or maybe a tad bit faster, but it does less to involve you in the play than keeping your momentum up and being a nuisance to them, even if just for a second. So like if you see here, like you stop and flip out, Otto or your teammate sees that you're over here, and so now he's in an awkward position when this 50 doesn't go this way, because he's hard committed to this. Because you're still over here, he just subconsciously thinks this area is covered. Versus if he saw you rotating through, like let's say even if you had no boost here, if Rooney saw that you were rotating through here, he would just naturally be here. He'd be on this ball, and then you'd be basically able to play as an extension over here. So you flipped off the wall, you kept your momentum going. Rooney came in this way. Now he's got this free ball. He hits it over Booker. As he's hitting it, he can tell you or Otto, hey, one of you cut. And then now you've got a backside goal, because I don't think their third's anywhere near right now. So like, if we look, like where is their third right now? On your side of the field. So you see how that stopping momentum and cutting back really messes with y'all's rhythm?
Yeah.
So good dunk there. Okay. So again, watch. They give you space in the corner, and you take it to the outside. So now they're starting to set up that defense against that, and they leave the middle of the field open, and you guys don't exploit that. So here's a common mistake, not from you, but just from Rooney, is just coming up here and just parking it. If you're going to come up and be a presence in this box, make sure you're timing it so you still have momentum. So what he should be doing here is, instead of coming at it like this, is as he's coming, he should come in wide. Because this play is still developing. It's still going to take about 2 seconds for this play to do anything for him to read as to what his next move should be. So if he's coming in wide, and this would be wider, it's just my screen's that small. As he comes in wide here, he starts to time himself with this 50, and then now he's coming in full momentum into what he needs to do to either cut the play off here and keep it in the box, or shoot from here and attack from there. Or even if he's not blocking this off, it'll put him at the first one to this play, and then he can take possession in this corner and maybe set up for an outlet pass here. So that's just one thing that I see him doing a lot. I see you do it, I think, once or twice in the other replay. But just whenever you have this, make sure you're timing your arrival to the right space with momentum. Yeah, because you see him, he just sits and parks there. Versus if he had come in wide here, instead of sitting here and parking, he'd have momentum coming across, and then he could be the first one to this, beat all of them, take this up and over, and then Otto rotates through here, makes that awkward for him, and then you're sitting here, and then you could sit somewhere around here to follow up whatever play he creates. But because he just drives up and parks, he fully commits to this option, and when that doesn't work out, now he has no more options to be involved in the play. So you see, he's still just sitting here parked, hoping that something will work. And then he just gets beat over because they're like, oh, he's just sitting there, so we don't have to worry about him. And then now he has to spend all this boost. So what was he at before? So he was almost at full boost here. He's just driving back and forth in no man's land. And then something happens where he gets beat, and now he wastes half his boost to try and get in a decent position. Versus if he just kept his momentum, oh, that didn't work. He's got options and he can rotate out faster. And he's got momentum, so he's got 30 more boost to make this defensive play. All right. So again, see the habit of you guys always bring it up and outside the corner. You guys never take it across. So what are they able to do? They know that you're going to take this up and out. So they just go, okay, we're just going to sit back and let them bring us the ball because they don't have the ball control to get past our first man. So this is where the main concept I was talking about, where you guys aren't taking a look at their defense before you set up your attack. So did you have a question about that? Or did? No. Okay. But does that make sense as far as how, like, that one habit, they just exploit that basically the whole game? And again, this is just like another instance where somebody just comes, sits, parks, and then goes instead of rotating wide and being on there. So this is a mistake from you, not the whiff, this next part. That's kind of a hard read to make. It's good to do that. But right here, as soon as you see him whiff that, you need to be playing this ball into open space. So if you just take this and just bang it down to this corner, or just hit a roller to this corner, this will keep possession and it'll stop this next play from ever developing. So if we go back to, so like, see how much open space there is?
Yeah.
So like the very worst thing is Nugsy can cut this off from his angle and just push it into the corner faster. But instead,
slow enough for me to be able to like clear it because I was on 9 boost.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be able to make it.
But here's the thing, it's not so much about, like, even if you can't like clear it, you can at least put this outside the path of what they can do with it, because they're all behind you, they're all facing backwards. Like, if anything, if you aren't confident in clearing it into open space, clear it behind him where Rooney's.
What I meant was like the speed, it was too fast for me to reach it. I was on 9 boost.
Let me see here.
I don't mind like, clearing it anywhere, but I think it was way too fast for me to reach that.
Yeah, so I'm not talking about that right there. I'm talking about this right here.
Yeah.
Like this, you can still, like you bump here. Like, just leaving this is the issue. Like, because you give no presence on this ball. And so you literally just let them have this for free. Like, even if you just, like, let's say you don't clear it. Like, let's say you just sit and park right here. Let's say it's like, okay, this ball's too high for me. I'm just going to come and sit right here and take a 50. But part of that could just be boost management. How much boost did you have before you go for that? Yeah. Yeah, I could see why you wanted to leave that in the moment, but just leaving the ball alone entirely is kind of the issue.
Oh,
Because instead of getting a shot on net, you get a 50 at midfield. That's the main point. So right here. So again, this is you guys having one attack plan. You guys all stack up and you guys use the walls. Well, all the while you guys have all this open space. Because like they don't feel the need to even try and cover this area because all you guys are doing is trying to take it up and out the wall. Here. I would already be up on back wall for this. So like as soon as you grab this boost, I would already be rotating up and getting on back wall. And then that shuts all of this down a lot faster. So you guys are just kind of lucky he didn't get the greatest touch here. Because nobody was ready for that double if he got it.
yeah.
So right here. So like you see how right here, this is the first time you guys don't try and take this up the wall and out, and you guys try and cut infield, and it beats Karma for the most part. Or it gets Karma out of the play. Like, because she's full committing to this outside wall, and she's like, oh, they're taking it upfield. And you see how that stops all her momentum?
Yeah.
So, like, mixing it up more and sooner is a good idea. So, yeah, so this is that, this is a better job of doing wide than Rooney earlier. You just cut it a little too soon. But, like, that's a kind of the right idea. So, you don't need to be boosting here at all. Like, you see a boosting here, just waste boosts, and you arrive early.
Yeah.
Right here. And then, yeah. And so you do kind of that same thing, like where you just sit around the top of the box. Versus if you rotate out here and Rooney's keeping up his momentum, there's going to be such a small gap of time that this area is not covered by one of you. So, like, if he's doing his job and rotating in while you're rotating out, and, like, let's say this play is still slow, like, then y'all just keep rotating through, grabbing pads and such. And then this area is always covered, except for, like, a tiny split second. But even then, the chances of them being able to time that against your attack is very slim. And then it just keeps that momentum up, less boost usage, and just more aggressive on this play. All right. So, like, watch right here. This is, I think, the first time. Like, even then, like, you see how all of you guys are stacking up, trying to get this out the same direction that they're coming in, versus trying to take control of this and bring it back. Like, right here is just a perfect example of not back post rotating. So, there's a lot of defensive issues.
I just wanted to get out of that mess. I need both my mates were there. I didn't want to stick in that situation. I'd rather go back post.
Yeah. Like right here, the easiest way to rotate around opponents or around your teammates here is to go up to the back wall, because that way you're still covering something. And this may be a comms issue, but whenever you're on, like in this situation where you've got two people right next to each other, the best thing to do is to calm a position and go, I'm first man. And then it's like, okay, cool. So now Otto knows that he can rotate out and he can move one back. and he can rotate back post versus keeping his momentum and trying to rotate through like this. And then from here, you can say rotating out, Rooney comes up, you come out through here. You can either come up through here. Let me draw this. So like, let's say you do that, Otto knows that he's going to cover this midfield passing option. Rooney can come up and he can start to challenge this ball. And then just depending on what happens, you can either come up back wall or you can continue and rotate near post in kind of like a secondary shadow position. And basically Rooney can just force this low or force this high depending on what option you take. So just calming, like whenever you're right next to somebody, like a teammate, it's very important to just call a position and stick with it. And then that just lets them take the other spot. And it keeps you guys on the same page, which is honestly more important than making a quote unquote proper play. So good counter here. Yeah, so like right here, this is like another instance of like rotating wide. So like right here, you do a good job of rotating wide up until here. Like if you just continue your rotation out, because Otto's covering that area already. Like he's reading you rotating out. He's not reading you cutting back in. So he's coming in to cover this space and to set up that circle I was talking about earlier of him coming in, covering this as you're rotating out. And like if this goes back mid, you can cut back in from here, which is a much more threatening position. Or if it gets boomed, you can just continue to work your way down the field while Rooney rotates through and causes chaos. So that's just if you look at your car's body language from Otto's perspective. Like, watch this from him. He sees you. Oh, he's darting across the field. He's definitely rotating out behind me. And then, like, you see how, like, he's playing that you're rotating out behind him. And then right here, if you had done that, let's see. Like, if you had done that, yeah. So, like, you do that, but you would have already been here sooner. Okay, it works out, but just that rotation could have been a little bit cleaner. Because you see how much boost you have to come in and cut, and then cut back out. Like if you had already been rotating, you could have cut in here and shot this ball top corner even faster from this angle. And so if they were a little bit better or a little bit faster, they would have been cutting this play off from the midfield. So what they should have been doing is as he comes across here, Negsy should be already coming in and committing to this midfield pass as fast as possible. So really, this is Negsy's fault for even letting you get a shot off. But okay, good job forcing that low. Good bump. So yeah, that's the thing I'm talking about, is keeping up that momentum. So right here, I wouldn't have wave dashed out. So right here, you gotta set up for a shadow. You give him a little bit too much space to set up here. So right here, all you have to do. So Otto right here is too close. That's part of the issue. Really, that shot should just come straight from Rooney. So like so he's passing that off. The only thing they can do here is rebound this. So if you immediately cut in and play this rebound, you probably have a goal here. So that's just recognizing the situation that you're in. So you've bumped net, come in, you land here, you can immediately cut on this and beat them, because if you look, everybody here is backwards to this play. And so by the time he gets up, like worst case scenario, he sees you and he's got to jump for this ball and you're already in the air hitting it. So the timing of this is pretty tight. But you see what I'm talking about? How they only have the rebound that they can play?
Yeah, I get that.
Okay. But good 50, a little readable. Good job cutting through, blocking off their midfield pass. Nice job funneling. Let me see this again. All right, let me switch to full cam here. Okay, I don't know why Rooney's going up for this. I think he's just trying to grab pads. So right here, Rooney should be rotating wider. If he's going to rotate and grab pads, he needs to be going all the way back. So that way you guys don't end up in the same position here. But right here, I would have just stayed back wall. You'd have a more advantageous position here. So Otto's already playing it low. So, and Rooney's rotating back post. So right here, just stay back wall. And then when this pops up, you're already sitting back wall, and then you have an easy outlet pass to Otto. So, but that was a little bit of a comms thing as well, I imagine. Good speed, good shadow, good pass. That would have been a really nice pinch. Okay, so right here, this little deviation is what gave up this goal. So you're rotating through, you see this pinch, or this pinch attempt. You should know that this play is going to the right side. So there's no reason for you to be turning left here. And so this split second that puts you over here, hold on. That puts you over here. Watch this back from like this perspective. So they come in, they miss their pinch attempt. You see how much time you waste and how much out of position you are going for that? If you, instead of rotating like this, had come in here, you're no longer having to do this desperation 50 that careens off the wall that's basically just a pass for karma. Yes, your teammates double committed, so this is on them as well for putting you in that position. But you'd been able to shadow this from a much easier way and gotten a better touch here. Because at this point, instead of flipping all the way across, like see how you covered a quarter of the field with that flip?
Yeah.
That's the quarter of the field you lost by turning right here. So if you had already rotated in here, you would be in advanced position right here. And then now he has to get immediate control of this ball and do something with it because you're in a much better position to 50 and challenge this. And instead of it going across, basically being a pass for karma, and you have the biggest thing is because you have to cover so much ground, he reads you like a book because you only have one option to stop him. And so what he does is he just lets you, he does this low 50 and just lets you pass this for him. But again, if you had not taken that boost and rotated in midfield, then you would have been in a better position and you could have been more ambiguous with their challenge and had a better chance. Oh, that's not. Yeah, let's go back. Okay. So again, look at the option you guys choose and look how they're already preparing for it. So you make this touch. You see how they don't even really set up? Like Nexy's just rotating out here and he's already turned in here because he knows that you guys are going to play this out. So this is where they start to punish that habit. So they play defensively. So this is the other thing I was talking about that you guys could have implemented more instead of just taking it to the corner is watch how they let it come to the corner and then draw you in. So they let you guys get in their half to draw you in just so they can be in a better position to read it and get it up and over you. And so, right here, this is your ball. You need to be clearing this into open space. Rooney should be inside post here, and at worst what you should be doing is keeping this close to the wall. So instead of cutting and just leaving this ball alone, either boom it this way, or block it off to where it stays in this area, and then Rooney can just sit in inside post, and then he only has to cover this much of the net, because that's the only angle they have. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah, thank you.
And so this is where they've read your habit. And watch. They know that you're taking it to this inside corner. They know that you're going to try and push it out because you haven't tried to bring it across all game. And they just stack up and read you for it. So, like, another way you could have played this is just, again, rotating wider. So what you do is you come in and you immediately cut in on the ball. If you rotate out wider, you can clear it into the open space that's over here. So like you see that immediate cut?
Yeah.
If you just come in a little bit wider here and just get yourself lined up to where you're basically straight on the ball, then you can bang this off either this side or you can bang it and hit it off this side. But because you've gone this way the entire game and even last game, they are fairly confident that you're going to do that to this side. So they just stack up on this side. And then you telegraph it to you by coming at such a sharp angle. If you come in at this angle right here, then they can't tell because you can just be a little bit to this side and hit it this way, or be a little bit to this side and hit it this way, but they don't know until right about right before contact happens.
Yeah.
And so just add ambiguity whenever you can. So like for instance, let's say you had done that. Watch how committed they get to being in this corner. Like they've got all the momentum. Whoop, that's not what I wanted. they've got all their momentum headed towards this corner. So if you had gotten a touch that's like this, Rooney is now the first one to get to this because now they've got to cut and turn all their momentum. And Rooney's already setting up to face this way. So that's one of those things that it's not a bad thing to do in and of itself, but it's a bad thing to do every single time.
Yeah. All right.
And again, coming up to the box and just sitting there. That's the other bad habit that I've noticed. That time I was a little bit better. Now, good 50. Sets it up for you. So again, you see how y'all's entire game plan is bang it down whichever side this is on.
Yeah.
This is what's getting exploited, and this is what makes it so hard to like break out of y'all's half and do something. So the main like defensive concepts or really offensive concepts is, let me get to like kind of like a bird's eye view for a sec. Okay. So let me break down what's kind of the standard 3 options. So on defense, there's 5 positions to cover. There's the person with the ball. There's the midfield pass. There's the backboard. There's the net. And then there's the backside pass. So with only 3 people, you've got to pick and choose what to cover based on what's being threatened. So you can turtle up and try and cover 3 of them and have somebody sit back wall, somebody kind of sit midfield, somebody right here, and just let this person have free reign, which is what some defenses do. Like that's the old school peeps. Like if you go back and watch any of their games, that was kind of their defensive strategy is, hey, we just don't think you're good enough to get past us, so come at us, you know?
Yeah.
So when you're setting up your attack and your transition into offense, what you need to do is take note of what can you threaten and what are they covering, because one of these is always going to be open. So you may not, the net is usually one of the first things they start to try and cover. And that's, yeah, sorry, I need a drink. So you can almost always guarantee somebody's going to be here. And this person can halfway cover this, and this person can halfway cover the net. But there's always going to be gaps in the offense. Because if backboard's here and he's halfway covering net, and this person's here and he's halfway covering this, that means you've got half a chance to get a backside pass or half a chance to just shoot it on net. Or if they're fully covering here, they can halfway cover this backboard, but they have nobody here. So that's the biggest thing when you start to get to these higher ranks is you did this in between games. You're like, hey, we weren't infield passing enough. And you guys started infield passing and you got a few goals off of it. But you're predetermining your attack before you even see their defense. And that's going to be the major thing that will hold you back from getting like B+ and A, is not reading their defense and attacking accordingly. So does that make sense as far as like the general concept and why doing that same thing over and over again is I think it's one of the main things that's hurting you?
Yeah, exactly. Reading their defense as well. I don't really tend to do that, so
Yeah.
something to think about.
Yeah, so like let's watch this transition right here. So right here, you guys establish an offense, and what do they do? So right here, Otto really shouldn't be up this far. If he is, this play needs to be a lot slower, but Karma's kind of preventing that. This is more of a transition. Let me see. Like, okay, yeah. So right here, right here is a perfect example. So Booker clears it, and now watch. You have Karma on the ball. You have Negsy, who's effectively covering the backboard, like this area. And then you have Booker, who's covering infield and pass, and the net's open. So is the back wall. So watch right here. So they both double commit, but you see how this backboard's completely open because they can only cover so much of it. So you beat Karma. Now Karma's rotating to back into net, and now watch how they set up their defense again. So right here, Karma's challenging the ball. Or she's really in mid-rotation, so she's put herself out of the play. So like even an optimal distance, Booker's covering back wall, and Negsy's covering this infield pass. So let's watch this develop. So because of that, Negsy's able to block that infield pass. Now Booker's in net, Karma's rotating behind. You see how you guys moved that defense around? And that's what allows you guys to get this goal. So watch. So he covers that infield pass. It ends up being another infield pass. Nobody's covering that option right now. You guys score this because Karma didn't rotate shallow enough. I hate when I do that. So like this goal is on Karma for not rotating in and covering that midfield pass. So you see how whenever you get to these higher ranks, like you've always got to be covering something. And the moment Karma wasn't covering one of those options, you guys were able to exploit it.
Yeah.
So now that you're kind of seeing this, now it's just as you're starting your attack, what options are they covering? And then what options can we attack to force them away from where we want? So like if you guys are really good at infield passing, pepper the backboard and force them on the backboard more. And then once they start covering the backboard out of habit, just like you clear it off the sidewall out of habit, then that's when this option starts to become open more. And then it just takes one person being slow to get an easy shot on net.
Actually makes a lot of sense, to be fair.
So yeah, so this is where kind of like where Rocket League is headed. This is like what I'm most excited about. Is it's no longer just the standard rotation, like it's what zones are we attacking, and then what offenses are we using to attack that, and then like I honestly see like in the future, like near future, basically. There's going to be defenses that consist of focusing on one or the other, just depending on the team and how they like to attack. But I eventually see coaches going, okay, like having like a cover two style offense. So like this right here works really well against Boomer Ball. So if like you notice that they're clearing a lot, just have one person go up and pressure, and then they boom the ball away, and then these guys are ready to immediately push it back in. That guy rotates through, and you guys have somebody attacking it. Or if they're trying to keep it low and do 50s, then you can send two people and basically be like a two situation where you try and 50 it to get to this person, and then this person sets up this person who's sitting somewhere around here. Or if they're turtling up, instead of attacking them with the ball, you go up, do an air dribble. So you get everybody's cameras focused up here, and you attack slowly and then send somebody in from behind if they're covering here, here, and here. If they're like, hey, we think we're better than you, it's like, cool, you are, but you're not there anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is where I see Rocket League heading, like on a competitive side in the future, is basically a coach sitting back here calling, like, hey, do this. Hey, do this offense. Hey, set up this offense. Or, hey, they're doing this offense, so make sure you're rotating shallow. Or, hey, they're trying to set up this. And then the next step beyond that is going to be, how are we going to disguise this offense into this offense or this defense into this defense? But it's more so just kind of explaining like rotations in a more broken down way, in a more stylized way. So, but does that make sense as far as learning like the general concept of there's 5 positions that 3 people have to cover, and you have to give up 1 or 2, and you can kind of halfway cover backboard with the guy in net, or you can cover net with the guy on backboard a little bit. But you can start to break this down. And then when you start to attack, you'll move them like you guys did earlier. So you attack the midfield, and they immediately didn't have somebody covering that midfield again. So when it came back to the midfield off of that 50, you guys score a goal. So that's how you attack defense. And then basically the inverse is true when you're setting up your defense. It's, hey, what are they attacking? So what do we need to cover? So like you could come up and like for you guys, like they attacked the midfield a lot. And that's how they scored most of their goals. So what you could do is you could cover the midfield, cover back wall, and cover the net, and then let them kind of come a little bit and draw them in so you can set up for a counterattack. So like that's the kind of style to beat them. And so like you'll see FaZe do this a lot, where they basically have somebody here, and then on the other side of the field. And basically what they're doing is they're rotating between, like if this guy gets the ball, this guy rotates into the attack and this guy half rotates in. And then if it gets to defense, this guy hits the ball and he rotates with this guy. And so they're basically doing 2 half rotations between 2 players and forcing the other team to play the entire field. And basically just trying to set up one-on-one situations everywhere. But that's getting a little bit too deep into stuff. But but no, does that make sense though, as far as like how to set up that offense, how to read it, and how to exploit those situations?
Yeah, it really helps a lot. I mean, I know I'm definitely going to be putting more thought into my attack than I usually do.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
Yeah, because like, yeah, because honestly, until you get to once you get to SSL, unless you're somebody like First Killer or like, you know, King Ranny or like these like top 100 ones gods, like you're not going to be able to just out mechanic people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like First Killer and like Daniel, it's like, yeah, okay, like they can in situations, but then when you see those situations, it's like, oh, well, that whole situation was set up by them attacking different points, drawing the defense away to set up that solo play for them.
Yeah.
And so it was just giving the entire offensive strategy was make them have to cover enough space that they can no longer, or like, hold on. Like that's kind of SSG is kind of stealing some of FaZe's strategy now that they have Daniel. But like if you look at how they play offense, it's, hey, we're going to pepper the backboard, we're going to make you cover the midfield pass, and we're going to shoot from over here, so you've got to have somebody covering the net. And so they'll do that a little bit until they turtle up for half a second while Daniel has the ball. And then now there's nobody covering Daniel, and he just out mechanics 2 people, and then now it's a 2v1 and they put it in if Daniel doesn't just 1v3 himself. So, and like I said, once you start to recognize that how they're setting up their defense, the next step is recognizing how they're setting up their offense and defending accordingly.
Yeah.
So if they go for midfield passes a lot, then you have to have that person rotating shallow and immediately cutting that off. Like, you see how Karma was just like, oh, they like are always attacking from the sides, so I don't need to rotate middle. And she got complacent for just like that half second, and that's what opened up that space. So she could have, instead of rotating and trying to grab this boost, just gone in right here and shut that play off.
Yeah.
And so, and now you get to the next step where you're conditioning your opponents to do things intentionally. You guys didn't intentionally think out, hey, we're just going to keep shooting from over here and attacking the backboard the whole game. So that way Karma feels she can sit wide and do that. That's just like, you guys didn't consciously do that. It just kind of worked out that way, that they eventually left the midfield open after Negsy got that first block. Yeah. But eventually it's going to be the point where you have to do enough to condition your opponent and threaten an option enough to where they fully commit and they go, okay, we're 100% sure they're covering here. So now we're going to either sacrifice here, or we don't think their shooting's good enough. So we're just like not even going to cover the net. So that's kind of a ballsy move, but it works at lower ranks because people can't shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so does all that make sense?
Yeah, it actually really does help a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And so, was there any specific situation you wanted me to go more in depth about in this game? And kind of cover like all the branches and stuff? Or do you feel like that kind of covered?
Yeah, no, definitely. It helped a lot. I mean, I don't want to overload my brain with too many fixes, but it really helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, like I said, the big concept is just don't do the same thing over and over again, and keep your momentum going and stop just sitting here like a plat, hoping that they whiff off the backboard and you be able to attack with 0 momentum and still get a shot on net.
Yeah.
So like those are the 2 like biggest fixes right there. And then that's kind of like the big general concept of, hey, here's offense, here's defense. And like that's why you have to mix it up. Is because eventually they'll start to get those reads on you.